Mark, you started here 1988, 35 and a half years ago.
I certainly didn't anticipate this is what I was going to be doing.
Did you have another vision?
I did. When I was a sophomore in high school in Nebraska, I had some really impactful coaches and teachers on my life. I really felt that was what the Lord was calling me to do, teaching coach. And then I got this call. I was an undergrad student at Augustana prior to the Elman Center. What we had was one basketball court, and the weight room was not much bigger than this office. It was not much.
How has Rec Services grown over that time?
That's tremendous. I've got a picture over here on my wall. There's about 30 students there, and that's my first staff. Today we have 140. Facility has certainly grown, just under 40 intramural activities. 2,000 kids take swim lessons. We have an outdoor program, hiking and backpacking and skiing. Our late night activities, late night haunted house, Las Vegas, ice skating, volleyball showcase, mini golf, battleship, canoes in the pool, trying to capsize the other canoe.
I never imagined doing something like that while I was here.
We want to create wow experiences for other people. Our mission with Rec Services is to attract people and build leaders. And so the real question is, well, why? What does it matter? When you look at the college experience, it's about people and it's about relationships. Folks are here to get that degree without a doubt, but we don't want anyone to miss out on the great opportunities they have to connect with other people and also develop and experience the physical, emotional, and mental health benefits. That leadership development piece is a major part in regard to our student staff experience. How do you deal with conflict? How do you enforce policies? What do you live out every day? I loved the teaching and coaching position I had in Nebraska. I thought that's what I was going to do forever. I've just felt year after year that this is really where God wants me to serve. It's a special opportunity to work with 140 plus students and interact with far more. When people ask me, well, Mark, what do you really do? That's what I do. It's not in a basketball court like Coach Billiter or like I did when I was in Nebraska, but it's throughout this building and this campus, just being involved with teaching and coaching.
Well, hello there, and welcome back to college. This is a show where we share the incredible transformations of international students who studied abroad at college in the US. And what has been very evident over the many episodes that we've had so far, 31 prior to this one, is that relationships are so important. College is so much more than the work that we do inside the classroom. My greatest memories are not the ones where I spent hours on end in the library or stressing my head off just 10 minutes before cramming before the business law exam. It was the activities that I did outside the classroom that I remember most fondly. Today's guest has the job of actually creating a place for students to come and connect with one another while being active. And that sounds honestly like totally lame, but the truth is this person actually created something so special, it's honestly very hard to put into words. It's so much more than a place to simply go and work out. Since the recording of this episode, this person has retired as the Director of Recreational Services after serving in the role at Augustana for 36 years. Congratulations to Mark Hecht on your amazing career and service to the students at Augustana University. Your 3.5 decades of devotion has built this incredible community where people can make lifelong friends, become leaders of the future, and create everlasting memories. I hope you, the listener, are as excited as I am to hear from one of the most influential staff members Augustana has ever had. And the journey he has been on, wow, you better strap yourself in. Enjoy this remarkable conversation as we go back to college with Mark. Mark Hecht, I would say welcome back to college, but I think you've been here a lot longer than I have. But thank you for hosting me here in your office in the Elman Center. It's I'm really looking forward to having a chat with you. You are a staff member, but to me, I feel like you almost are a student for the amount of time that we spent together and just hanging out playing volleyball together and volleyball as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited to sort of talk about Rec Services because that's what your role is, Director of Recreational Services. Do you want to just describe to me what that actually is?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward to sitting down with you too, Zach. And it's
your first podcast, as
absolutely.
you're saying.
First podcast. And that's quite the honor, huh?
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it.
There we go. Yeah, so as Director of Rec Services, I've got really two main responsibilities, kind of from a high-level view. One is to manage this facility, our Elman Center, our recreation athletic facility. And the other part is to oversee and run with a lot of professional staff and student staff to oversee and run our intramural and recreation programs. So that's kind of a high-level overview, and then there's lots of different aspects to that. So that's what I do.
I think because it is pretty much all students I have on the podcast, but I want to have you on not only because you feel like a student to me, but I think Rec Services is such a lifeblood to the college.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just provides such an amazing way for people to actually connect and play intramurals together, just come here and work out. And the services are free. There's group fitness classes. There's so much to offer. So I think it is just such an amazing thing. And so I wanted to ask you, Mark, you started here 1988 in August.
Yes.
35 and a half years ago. So do you want to just talk to me how you actually started here?
Yeah, you bet. So I was an undergrad student at Augustana from 1984 to 1988, so prior to the Elman Center.
Augustana alum.
Augustana alum, that's right. And at that time, what we had for recreation athletic space, Zach, was basically what you know as the Mortensen Center, the theater. That was what, when I was a student here, we called the old gym. And so that facility had one basketball court in it and a weight room in the lower level where the wrestling workout room was. And the weight room that we had as students then was literally not much bigger than this office. So it was not much.
That's totally different.
It's totally different. So
because I was doing a little bit of research and the Elman Center actually started up in 1989.
Yes.
February.
Yeah. So while I was a student here, we heard about the Elman Center. It was supposed to be coming. Well, it didn't. You know, they were still raising dollars. And so I graduated in 84 and went and taught and coached in Nebraska for 4 years near Grand Island and coached basketball and football and track. And then as it got into the 1987, 88 time frame, the athletic director at the time, his name was Bill Gross. He was a mentor of mine when I was a student here. I didn't play basketball at Augustana, but I was a student assistant coach when he was a coach. And so we knew each other. And anyway, he reached out to me in, like February of 88, March of 88, somewhere in there, and said, hey, you know, we're close to opening up this new facility. And would you have any interest in coming back to Augustana and working as the intramural director and managing the facility? So I'd been married for about a year at that time, and my wife, who's 3 years younger than I, she played volleyball here at Augustana. Carmen is her name. And so it was our first year of marriage in Aurora, and she, at the same time, applied for the head volleyball coaching position at Augustana.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, so we both came up in spring of 88 and interviewed for these positions, and there's a little bit longer story, but the short version is we then were hired in August of 88. She was head volleyball coach, and I was the first director of rec services and manager of the Elman Center. 6 months later, we opened the building in February of 89, and I've been here ever since.
That's amazing. That's such an amazing backstory, and I can't believe that's just the short version of it too.
Yeah, that's the short version.
Yeah, that's
absolutely
spectacular. And so, well, how has the whole Elman Center and how has Rec Services grown over that time?
Oh, there's there's a number of examples that I'll share there, Zach, whether it's kind of on the program side or the staff side. But I've got a picture over here on my wall right over here, and there's about 30 students there, and it's a picture from right in front of the Elman Center, and that's my first staff. So the first staff, we had 33 students. Today we have around 140 students that work on our staff.
Is it that many?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that's one area where it's really grown. And then the other area would be the facility itself. We've added on to the Elman Center 2 different times since 1988. One initial time, it was a smaller addition with some locker room space and equipment room space, athletic training space. That was in 2003. And then in 2007, we added on the football area and the practice gym. So facility has certainly grown. And then really the third area would be on the program side. When we initially were in the building, I think we had probably about 15 intramural activities each year. And now there's just under 40 different intramural activities each year. We did not have a youth swim lesson program. We started that probably about 6 years in, so it would have been in the mid 1990s, somewhere right in there when we started our swim lesson program, and we've got over 2,000 kids in the Sioux Falls area that take swim lessons here every year.
2,000. Oh
yes,
my gosh.
Yes. Outdoor program. We have an outdoor program right now for students to go hiking and backpacking and skiing, and that's probably only about. That's been in existence, I'd say, probably the last 12 years or so. So that's another area where there's growth. And then the other area I'll touch on quickly is in the weight room itself. When we first opened the Elman Center, we had some free weight equipment up there. And then we also had 3 exercise bikes. But that was it.
Yeah.
So what now is with treadmills and ellipticals and
the squat racks,
all
the dumbbells along the wall.
Yes, yeah. That's all grown and evolved over the years. So that's another example where there's been quite a bit of growth.
Yeah, that's really cool, and thank you for sharing all of that, because it is such a long history.
Yes.
And I remember being a student here. I mean, just having facilities like this where you're in a dorm just a block away, not even, just a short walk, and you can come here, you can work out, you can play basketball, you can play intramurals as part of some of the more organized competitions.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's just so much on offer. And I think for me in particular, the first 2 years I was here, I was playing basketball, so I didn't really dive into all the intramurals and stuff too much. It was mainly, I think, the late night events that I enjoyed.
Right.
Did you want to describe what a late night event would entail?
Yeah, I'd love to. And that's another clear example of just growth over the years. So our late night activities, they take place on Saturday evenings, almost always from 10 p.m. to midnight. There's a few that will start a little bit earlier and go a little bit later, like when we do our late night volleyball showcase. We just had that in mid-November.
That's one of the best ones.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's a good one. That one we started, there were 32 teams that participated, and they started playing at 8 o'clock at night. And as they got into bracket play after midnight, the championship matches happened around 2 a.m. So, but most of the other ones, late night haunted house, where we turn the whole building into a haunted house. We do a late night mini golf where we set up different 9-hole golf courses around the Elman Center. We do probably, this is another fond one, I'm guessing that you remember, but late night battleship, where we'll have canoes in the pool, and they compete against each other trying to capsize the other canoe.
Which is just totally unique. I mean, I never imagined doing something like that while I was here.
Yeah. So there's a variety. We do a late night Las Vegas. We have a couple of late nights each year off campus. We go out to the Shields Iceplex and rent their facility and do a late night ice skating. In January, we go over to Harrisburg to Air Madness, and we do our late night over there.
That's a new one.
Yeah,
I didn't get a chance to do
that. No, you
that.
didn't. That last year was the first time we've done that one. We have a couple that are outdoor late nights.
So what is that air mattress one? I'm a bit curious.
Yeah,
now.
yeah. So it's
I've been seeing it on the Stall Street Journal,
Yes.
which is the little posters that they put up in the bathrooms here just to let you know of events. And I've seen the Air Mattress Madness?
Yeah, it's the facility is called Air Madness.
Yeah.
And basically it's a big facility that's got all these different trampolines in it. And, some of them are what you'd think of as kind of a normal trampoline, but a lot of them are big outstretched area. And you do different activities. There's a dodgeball area where folks are on basically a trampoline playing dodgeball. And so we have that from 10 to midnight where we rent the facility. And then there's also food involved and that. So, yeah, that one's coming up in January. This is our second year doing that one.
Yeah.
But, a couple of really unique things about these late nights, Zach, is one, when they happen. And I think that's one of the really powerful things about the culture at Augustana is the number of students that come and participate in these different late nights. We do 11 each year, and they're over here from 10 to midnight, hanging out, having fun, doing the different activities. There's always food involved, and then there's always some other activities. So while you and I are volleyball lovers, and we'd be over here playing volleyball in that late night volleyball showcase, there's some students that may not be that into volleyball, but we still have other activities for them to do. So it's really fun, and the campus participates at a really high level.
It's just such a great place to come and hang out. And on a Saturday night too, I mean, there's other things going on. You could go to parties or hang out in the dorms or whatever, but I think there are so many people that show up to these events just because they are so awesome. And I see that as a real differentiator for Augustana because the rec services, people actually enjoy being a part of that. Whereas, because I could imagine other colleges, they're like, hey guys, come to this late night volleyball showcase and you might be able to scratch together 2 teams if you're lucky. But here you have full bracket plays and everyone's just like so many different teams and everyone just competing against one another, and there's different levels as well. So for the more serious volleyballers like you and I, we can play in those ranks, or if it's more casual and you've never played before, you can just put together a team and come and give it a go.
Right. Yeah, no, you hit it well. And I think 2 things just to follow up on what you said is, I think one of the main things, Zach, that makes our late night activities and really our intramural activities, everything we do is the leadership of our student staff. They're so excited about it. They plan these events. They're the ones putting together, how are we going to promote it? What budget are we going to use? What kind of prizes are going to be given out? And they just have such great enthusiasm and passion for those late night activities to be done at a really attractive level. And then the other thing you mentioned too that I think is really important is the different levels of competition, whether it's at that volleyball showcase or any of our intramural activities, where we'll have students that may play racquetball for the first time ever, or may play volleyball for the first time ever. And we've got that recreational division there. And then some years, some leagues, as you know, will have even 4 different divisions, all the way up to a more of a competitive, highly competitive division. Yeah. So it's really, I think, one of the things that makes the program special.
Absolutely. And well, Mark, you love to jump in as well and get involved with all the intramurals and other competitions, which I think makes for quite a fun and fascinating dynamic for the staff to actually be involved with these too. But you've had a volleyball team now, the staff pack, for I don't know how many years. I'm not even going to try and guess. But you guys always win as well. We had quite a good team, but for some reason we could just never beat all those years of experience that you have.
Yeah. Well, we have had this staff pack team for, oh boy, Zach. I mean, honestly, I would say it's probably 33 of the 35 years that I've been here. And yes, we have won some championships and had a long string. Lauren Kepsel, I think, would be able to tell you more accurately than I can.
He probably keeps a tally.
He does, and I think the way he would be able to answer the question, it would be he could tell you how many times we have not won. But I will tell you, we got beat this past
That's what I've
November,
heard.
December.
Yeah, Dr. Kepsel actually told me that.
Yes. So we got knocked off, and
which is big news because I don't think you lost the whole time that I was here.
No, we had a pretty good run going for quite a while, but we are getting older. I'm 61, and Dr. Kepsel's even a few years older than I am, and so we'll see. We'll see if we can get back on top next year. But I think one of the highlights for us, me personally, certainly, has been to play pickleball, play volleyball. I haven't played intramural basketball for a number of years, but I did in my early years here. But certainly a lot of volleyball. I still play intramural softball. Typically play badminton and ping pong, and definitely all of the volleyballs, whether it's doubles or sand or indoor. And I think, for me, it's a great way to stay connected to the students. And that becomes a little more challenging as you get older, certainly. But by being able to still participate in intramural activities, I think that's a really important part. Physically, keeps me young, without a doubt. Having to go against young guys like you and others is always a part of staying active and physically fit. And then I think, too, the students, I'll have to see what you say, but I've always certainly over the years heard from the students that I think they enjoy and appreciate when they have the opportunity to interact with faculty and staff in that setting.
I think it just really grows and just deepens those relationships as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see them in a different setting apart from, in the philosophy office or something like that. They can come here and you're just playing on the court with them, which is I think it's a really special thing. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's where, I think that then helps. There's a number of students on my staff that will talk about, Dr. Kepsel or Dr. Mullen is playing intramural volleyball, and he's my professor, etc. And I think that's always been important to them to see that.
Yeah, and especially since exercise and well-being is such an important thing too. I think it's even better that we can all come together and be healthy, be fit, and also just have an awesome time with one another.
Yes. And, as I oversee these program areas and oversee our student staff, without a doubt, as I use the weight room, I'm experiencing it from a different perspective than if I wasn't using it and was just overseeing it, working with the staff. Same way on the intramural side of things. When I'm participating, I'm experiencing it from a different perspective compared to someone who might not be participating but is just overseeing it.
So, like, for example, when you go to a captain's meeting where at the start of the intramural season, you'll just have a meeting with all the teams, all the captains, and just sort of go over the rules and what's expected. I think even just seeing that all the way through, how the league operates and then what it's like to show up on game night with the referees as well and play, you really get a first-hand experience. And I'm starting to really think that that's why it has evolved to what it is now, and why it's so great is because, you're in the trenches really experiencing it for yourself as well.
Yeah, I think it's a big part. The things that you learn and see, and even from a perspective of, might be a simple thing like a team comes over for an intramural volleyball match, and do you just play one match or do you like to play two matches back to back? And I think an openness to flexibility on scheduling also plays into that, and all that's involved with officiating intramural sports. It's a big piece, and it's definitely a differentiator.
So, Mark, I'm curious then, because there's so many different elements of the Element Center itself. And realistically, I feel like you could have a bare bones staff where you just run the facility and sort of that's it. But you have 140 odd students who come and help you every year. So why do you think it's important to get students involved working here in Rec Services?
Well, I would say the biggest reason, Zach, is we really value the leadership development part of working with Rec Services as student staff. Our mission with Rec Services in regard to why are we here is to attract people and build leaders. And so a major component of working and serving in Rec Services is that leadership development. And, I've just seen over and over during the years Zach, whether it's somebody who's an undergrad education major and now they're going to go into public school or private school teaching, whichever it is, someone who's going on to law school, someone who's going on to med school, on and on, nursing. We just have had, over the years, students in all of those majors, future vocation, and more. And, the one real key is whatever they're going on to do, it involves interacting with people. And so the experience that they have here as they serve in their various positions, whether it's swim instructor or front desk or intramural official, whatever it might be, it's all based on interacting with people. And how do you serve them well? And how do you deal with conflict? And how do you enforce policies? And those are such key learning opportunities. And then one of the things that really plays into that leadership development, and this is developed over time with our student staff, is that we have 4 main positions on our staff that are supervisory positions of other staff. And so we rely heavily on, typically each year it's about 35 of our overall staff who serve in these leadership positions within our staff. And so they're the primary staff members who are training our intramural officials and evaluating them, or they're training and evaluating swim instructors or front desk staff or weight room staff. And so now you're giving feedback, redirection, catching staff doing things well to your peers. And you have times where you have maybe a sophomore, a first-year leadership staff student who is going to be training and evaluating a senior on our staff. Well, that's a real-world experience. You go out and first start working somewhere as a first-year college grad or second-year out grad, and there's many, many situations where you're working and potentially even providing oversight, leadership to folks that are older than you. And so that leadership development piece is a major part in regard to our student staff experience.
I think there was a previous episode that I had with Sasha, and she said how much it has changed her life working at Rec Services. She just started on the front desk, and this was during, I think, I'm not sure exactly when she started, but freshman or sophomore year. And she said she was really reserved, not too outgoing. But as she progressed through the roles and becoming a supervisor, she said she just loves it because she gets to manage other people. She gets to just communicate with other people and ultimately help others. And as a result, she's so much more outgoing, and she feel like she's actually found her purpose as well. So I remember talking to her. I just couldn't believe at the remarkable change that she has gone through just by working at Rec Services.
Yeah, Sasha, and I could talk about her and so many others without a doubt, but she's certainly a prime example, and you described it well in what you summarized in regard to Sasha and her experience. And she has grown in so many ways, certainly interpersonal communication, without a doubt. And, I would say another big area is just the overall engagement and Sasha's ability to train. We rely on Sasha tremendously to train other staff and provide feedback to other staff. And, a big part of that leadership role that Sasha's in is, what do you live out every day? And Sasha lives out enthusiasm. She lives out a real desire to serve others. And she lives out a third kind of core value that we have in Rec Services, which is we want to create wow experiences for other people. And, part of that is certainly what you verbally train toward, for sure. Part of that is that communication piece, but a big piece is, what do you model? What do you live out every day? And Sasha has become one on our campus that I would say is known as a Rec Services staff member. and she's visible on campus, and people connect with her.
I see her on the TikTok as well.
On the TikTok.
Even when I'm back home in Australia, I know that she's active in the rec services community.
Yeah. I've really enjoyed some recent TikToks that she's been part of and has put together. Yeah, absolutely. Around the world, it gets coverage.
Yeah, there you go. How amazing is that? But I couldn't believe what she told me sitting down talking to her. So that's a good episode for anyone who wants to go check that out. Sasha, she had an amazing transformation here. Yeah. She's still going as well.
She is, and we're excited to get her back when she comes back from her Christmas break, for sure.
Which is amazing. And then, talking along the lines of sort of that social media stuff, I had another podcast episode with Maggie Oberg the other day, who's doing your social media things. And, there's a number on the wall behind me, 96%.
Yes.
And that came up in our conversation. And that's 96% of the students on campus who participated in a rec services event for one of the years, one of the recent years, which is pretty remarkable. And the goal is to get that number to 100%.
Yes.
So how is it important to get people here participating in some of the rec services events?
Yeah, and that it's what we're all passionate about. Maggie and myself and our student staff, and we put a lot of emphasis on that, getting folks to participate, to be involved. And so the real question is, why? What does it matter? And I think the big thing is, when you look at the college experience, the university experience, it's about people and it's about relationships. And absolutely, our students are here. It's a academically challenging place to be. Certainly, Augustana has high academic standards.
Absolutely.
And folks are here to get that degree without a doubt. It's primary importance. But the overall college university experience is a main part of that is what happens outside the classroom. And that's the relationship part. And you experience that as you're up in the weight room working out with 2 or 3 buddies, or you're up by yourself and you see some other people come over, or at the late night activities or intramural events or group fitness classes or our outdoor activities. All of those, it's such a key part in regard to what you get to experience in relationship, in community with others. One of Augustana's core values is community. And that describes so well who we are as a university in regard to wanting that to be fostered and see students engage in that. And then, then you get into all the benefits in regard to recreation and wellness and physical fitness, whether it's mental health, physical health, that's all tied in. And then there's the competition part. And that's where you have folks of various interest levels in regard to some are pretty highly competitive and others not so much. But yeah, it's so short summary of this in regard to the why is we talk a lot with our staff about, we don't want anyone to miss out on the great opportunities they have to connect with other people through recreation, intramurals, and the other program areas, and also develop and experience physical health and mental health, overall well-being. And so it's really kind of those 2 primary things, is the why is the relationship part, and then just the physical and mental health, emotional health benefits. Yeah, it's tremendous. I don't want anybody to miss out.
And that's something that's really important to me, and I'm very passionate about, is having that healthy lifestyle. And to be quite honest, it's something that I've probably let subside the last couple of years. And not having a place like Augustana where I can just go and do intramurals or late nights with my friends, I feel like I have been really starving myself of a community for the last few years. And coming back to the States now and reconnecting with so many of my friends, and yourself included, it's just filled me right up.
Yeah.
And I think it's been something that I've been really craving. And speaking of community and doing some activities together, we're going to play some volleyball this afternoon. And volleyball, I didn't even understand what this was when I came here. But did you want to describe to me, Mark, what volleyball is? Because I think, would you say that's even more your favorite game than volleyball?
I would say it probably is even more my favorite than volleyball.
I love it so much. It's such a great game.
Yeah. So volleyball is basically playing volleyball in a racquetball court. And so there's a net, and I like to play best 2-on-2 or 3-on-3. You can play with more people.
The starts to get a bit crowded.
It does. Yeah, it gets a little bit tight. But it's volleyball in a racquetball court. You can hit the ball off the walls, and it's a short. You think about a volleyball court is 60 feet long by 30 feet wide, and a racquetball court is here you go. I don't have the exact dimensions of a racquetball court, but it's certainly less than half, and so it's a compact area, which I think, volleyball wise, it helps your skill level, because the trying to serve receive a ball off the wall is more challenging. I think it helps your ball control because you're in a smaller area. The ball's coming pretty fast, but yeah, it's a ton of fun. Love to play it. Looking forward to getting you back out there with us today at 4.
Yeah, no, it's going to be good, and it's one of my, especially after I finish up with the basketball. Volleyball was something I used to love and just come play, even just casually on the weekends, just with a few mates. Because it's just such a different dynamic, and having the ball go off the different walls, you're playing with all sorts of different angles, so it really adds an extra element which you don't get just playing the standard volleyball.
Right.
It is such a crazy game.
Yeah, so I have a question for you, and this is bringing Max, your brother Max, into the conversation.
Yeah, okay.
When he was here recently and joined us for a few, I couldn't believe it, he played barefoot. That's my question. Are you going to play barefoot, or are you going to have shoes on?
It's funny you bring that up, because I didn't bring a change of clothes. So unless I'm wearing these big boots, I might be playing barefoot.
Might be. And I'm so, I don't go barefoot hardly anywhere. And then here's Max out there playing barefoot and jumping and all that stuff. And so, so it may be, we may see that from you, huh?
Just evolving the game.
Yeah, there we go.
Well, I think there was a rule that you had to introduce after Max and I were here, because we used to love, in primary school, we would jump off the wall.
Yes.
And there was a basketball hoop there. So we'd jump off the wall and do almost a second jump. And then we could get our head above the ring and throw it down from a young age. So we brought those skills over here to volleyball.
Yeah.
And we started figuring out, we can just jump off the wall. We can get a second boost, and we can have our waist above the net and then just go to spike the ball, which is
absolutely
totally unfair for someone on the other side, because you're just sitting there, sitting duck.
Yeah. And you guys both have some height and some vertical to begin with. And so now if you're up there putting a foot on the wall, that vertical has even increased even more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting with you and Max both bringing that skill to the volleyball court. I had not seen that for a number of years, but it goes way, way, way back to, I would say probably the early to mid 90s. There was a student named John Chenoweth who played a lot of volleyball, and he was one who would try to plant that foot on the wall and then go up and hit it. And then I hadn't seen it for quite a while until you guys showed up.
Yeah, it's just such an amazing game. I love it so much.
Yeah.
It's good fun.
We've one other activity. I don't think we did this when you were a student here. We've tried it a few different times, but we've played dodgeball in the racquetball court.
Oh,
and
okay.
I don't know if that was happening when you were here, if it was before your time. Yeah, but that's quite an experience as well. So you could, hit the person directly, or you could throw it at the wall and have it bounce off the wall and hit them. And
there's nowhere to hide in there.
And there is
such a short little container you're in.
Yeah, there is nowhere to hide. So that's adds an element to dodgeball as well.
Yeah, that's epic.
Yeah.
Well, before we actually do wrap up and go play some volleyball, there's a few more questions I want to ask. I just wanted to shift gears a little bit, because we've talked about all the amazing things as part of the Element and Rec Services. But for you, Mark, I wanted to ask, what is the hardest part about your job?
Yeah, I would say the most challenging part of my job is, there's a lot going on here all the time. And this facility in our program area really doesn't sleep, so to speak. There's not really downtime. So that's certainly a challenge in regard to, just physically and the demand, not just on me, but all of our staff. And an example of that would be when we put on that late night haunted house the last Saturday of October. We will have about 50 to 60 of our student staff help with that. And they're here from like 1 in the afternoon till about 3 in the morning by the time we set up, have the event take down. And then some of them are right back here then on that next day working a regular weight room shift or a lifeguard shift, and certainly the professional staff as well. So it's a busy place, which I'm thrilled about and excited about, but that pace can be challenging, certainly pro staff-wise and student staff-wise. Yeah.
Yeah, well, so much to juggle. And
Yes.
I think just so many different elements to the whole element and rec services as well.
Yeah.
But you do a phenomenal job, and I thank you so much for it, because such an amazing experience that I had while I was here, just dabbling in intramurals and all the other activities.
Yeah, it is. It's been a great privilege to serve and serve with the number of students and professional staff over the years, without a doubt.
And so, well, along those lines then, Mark, what is it that keeps you going for 35 years?
Yeah, I certainly didn't anticipate this is what I was going to be doing.
Did you have another vision?
I did. When I tell a lot of folks, Zach, kind of a short part of my story, so to speak, is when I was a sophomore in high school in Nebraska, that was the first time where I felt like I had a really clear picture of what I wanted to do with my life, and that was to teach and coach. And I had some just really impactful coaches and teachers on my life in middle school and high school. And, as I thought about that and reflected on that, and a lot of prayer and just reflection, I really felt that was what the Lord was calling me to do, was to teach and coach. And so came to Augustana, got my degree, went and taught and coached in Nebraska for 4 years. And then I got this call about, hey, we're opening the building. Would you be interested? And it was a really tough decision. My wife Carmen and I spent a lot of time in prayer on it, and just felt like this was where the Lord was leading. And so we came. I'm still here. And the why behind that is, most specifically, Zach, I've just felt year after year that this is really where God wants me to serve. It's just a special opportunity to be able to work with 140 plus students and interact with far more when you look at all that are involved in our program area, and being able to experience life and relationship with students. We do Bible studies on Friday with some of our student staff that want to come, and that's been an important piece. And, there's the college years are years where there's so much learning and growth. A lot of really special, good things happen, but there's some challenging things, certainly, that students will go through in their university years. And so being able to experience that with them, be a resource, be a father, maybe even by this age in my life, almost a grandfather, and being able to pray with them and just talk and listen. And so that's really the why, is I still feel like this is just an area where, God has continued to say, hey, here's where I want you to serve. And I still honestly teach and coach. I mean, when people ask me, well, Mark, what do you really do? And that's what I do. It's not in a basketball court like Coach Billiter or like I did when I was in Nebraska, but it's throughout this building and this campus, just being involved with teaching and coaching.
Terrific. Yeah, I think it's a really strong why, and obviously why I've been here for so long. So you think you're going to keep going for another 35 years?
Well, I won't make 35. I'm pretty confident of that.
Right.
But yeah, at this point, I still see some years ahead for sure.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so, Mark, I like to ask this question on the podcast. And the question is, your overall Augustana experience or college experience, what letter grade would you give that? So I'm going to ask that for you, and there's probably a lot that goes into that. But I'd like to ask you what letter grade you would give. So A, B, C, D, E, or dare I say an F. But what do you think you'd give it?
So do you want me to reflect on that in regard to my undergrad years here, or even as I've worked here professionally, or,
I think
or
just
grade both?
The whole thing.
The whole thing? Yeah, well, I would say a letter grade that I would give would be an A for sure. I wouldn't be here that long,
Makes sense.
if it wasn't that.
I guess because other
Yeah.
students, well, they'll come for maximum 4 years probably. So whether it's whatever grade it is, they can move on. But
Yeah.
you're obviously here for a reason. So
Yeah.
an A makes a lot of sense.
And to graduate from here and then still come back. I loved the teaching and coaching position I had in Nebraska. That was for me something that I thought that's what I was going to do forever. And so to leave that and come here and start working, I think is really a clear reflection of how positive my undergrad experience was at Augustana. And so definitely an A. And, why the A? If I had to pinpoint it, I'd say most clearly it's the people. The people here that you work with, that you experience, that's what makes it the A.
Terrific. Excellent answer. And final question. If we could go back to that time, Mark, after you've just graduated from Augustana, you've got your wife, Carmen. She's just accepted the job here as the head volleyball coach. And you're wondering, well, I thought I was going to go to Nebraska to coach, but you've got this offering to maybe come here and be part of the Elman Center. If you could give some advice to your younger self then, what would it be?
I think the advice that I would give is a couple things. One, be open. Again, my heart and mind had been set on high school teaching and coaching for, by the time I started, probably 8 years already. And yet when this opportunity came up, the advice would be, I think it's wise to not just right away, no, I'm not going to do that. I went to college for this, so that's what I'm going to do. So I think one, be open to that. And secondly, I think it's really important to, as you are open and you consider different things career-wise, vocation-wise, marry, lots of different, those are big decisions without a doubt. But as you're open, I think take time to connect with important mentors in your life. I did that. I had a couple different phone calls with John Thomas, who was an important mentor at my life when I was an undergrad student here. And, for Carmen and I too, with our relationship with God, it was certainly to take time in regard to prayer. But yeah, I think be open and don't rule it out. Consider, get input from others, and then there's nothing wrong. And this was honestly, Zach, this was kind of the core advice that this mentor, John Thomas, gave me, because I was really struggling with the decision about, do I leave Aurora, Nebraska, where I was at, and come to Augie? And, he one of the things I still remember is he ended up saying to me, Mark, you can always go back. Go try it, see how it is. And I think that's, just good advice. There's nothing wrong with trying it, taking a step and seeing how it is.
To be open, I think it's really powerful. And that's something that I think I'm discovering more and more just on my life journey as a whole, is not necessarily be set down one road. Yeah. And even the example here was the basketball. I thought that's what I had to do. And obviously that came to an abrupt end, but I've since gone on to do other things. And I would say probably more meaningful and more impactful things as well that I find more fulfilling. That's great advice that you've shared. But Mark, it's been great. Thank you for having me back at college.
Absolutely. It's great to have you in my office here. And while we've spent a lot of time on the volleyball court and volleyball court, et cetera, like that, this is probably the most time we've ever spent in my office.
It's great just to sit down one-on-one and have a chat.
It is, yeah.
So let's go play some volleyball.
All right. Sounds good.